Here is the Crescendo Music Education Podcast, episode number 14. This podcast is being recorded on the lands of the Turrbal people. I acknowledge them as the traditional owners of the land and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. They were the first music makers on this land. In this episode of the Crescendo Music Education Podcast, I'm going to speak to Ian Ross Williams, a recently retired fellow music educator. We have such an interesting conversation. So many little detours. We're talking about composition. We're talking about his work with Indigenous Australians. It's fascinating. So this is the first part of this conversation, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy listening to Ian Ross Williams. Hello and welcome to Ian Ross Williams. Hello, Ian.
Hey, Debbie.
It's so good to see you. We live in the same state, in Queensland, and I'm going to start by reading the beginning of your longer bio that can be found on your website, and we will put the link in the show notes. But I really liked the first little paragraph. So I'm going to read the first paragraph, and then you can flesh out the rest of your career as we chat, I think.
Sure.
Right. Ian Ross Williams was born in Sydney long ago. It wasn't that long ago, but yeah, okay, long ago.
It was long ago, don't be silly.
And raised in a happy, churchy musical environment. Hours were spent taking part in sing-alongs at family or social gatherings, as well as alone, often accompanied by pedal pianola. A boy soprano with a golden voice, Ian was blindsided in year 6 by a girlfriend who asked him to please not sing. Up until that point, he had been unaware that he often sang in the playground. Now slightly more self-aware, Ian's teen years often did include performing in public, but generally at more appropriate times. It's honestly such a good opening to a bio, and there's lots more details so people can read that. But
well, I do remember even as a little kid, it hit me. I must sing all the time, and
yes.
of course I did. I love singing.
And just half the time you weren't even aware of it.
No, quite unaware of it, or at least thought it was. I don't know. They thought it was appropriate in some strange way, perhaps.
It's just what you did. Obviously, just such a part of your makeup.
Yeah.
And then you went on to drop out of high school. Become a teacher aide at an autistic school, and had
fitted in very well.
You did fit in well, yeah. And you had this interest. Lucky us, really, as music educators, we're now benefiting from this. Really, you had an interest in Indigenous culture, and you've lived in Northern Territory and Northern Regional, North Queensland, Sunshine Coast, and been around the place as an educator and a performer. And there's lots of details there. Do you want to share anything specifically now about your experience, your career?
Well, yeah, I started out, so I was very interested in autism, having worked at that school, and the principal basically got me into an early childhood teacher training program in Sydney. And my full intention and his was for me to come back there as a trained teacher. And but my interest in Indigenous Australian culture had increased during my my teacher training, and a job appeared almost miraculously just when I was ready to graduate. Looking for teachers up in the Tiwi Islands, northwest of Darwin.
Wow! And
it was just an opportunity too wonderful to miss. I decided that I wanted to teach in Aboriginal communities. Excuse me, but I wanted to teach somewhere where the culture was you know, in a direct line of sort of a culture where the ceremonies were still alive, I suppose you could say. And I decided that really perhaps one of the island communities was the go. And then this this job appeared. So yeah, I worked up there for 3 years, and during that time, there was very little. It was a bilingual program in the Tiwi language, and there was very little song material for the little kids. I was working in early childhood, and we began writing songs. We began translating songs into Tiwi, and the long and short of that was the final year I was there in 1981. I compiled an album and recorded an album of songs in the Tiwi language and compiled a book, which was a huge piece of work because I had all the lyrics, all the chords, translation, glossary, illustrations, and we produced that and sold it as a fundraiser for the school. And I think every single household on the island had a copy within a couple of days. And it was the first time in the community that they recreationally read in their own language. And the strength of, as a literacy kind of thing, songs with the lyrics struck home. And it was, I've kind of jumped through some of the your questions that you've given me, but I think if I had to name a single highlight of my career, probably that album, the first album that I ever did. It's probably like a gambler, you know, you win on the pokies early up, you want to keep doing it, and basically that's what happened with my music.
Well, it became your addiction, did it?
Sure did, yeah. And but I've always been interested in songs, so but anyway.
So working with in the community up there, were you working with the kids, the parents, the elders, other educators?
Yeah,
like
all of that. But the curriculum was such that all of the teaching was done in the Tiwi language. So I would work with the Aboriginal teachers, and we'd work it together, and they'd deliver what we did. It was a play-based program, so it was.
Thank goodness. So were there issues with, especially a language like such an old language like that wouldn't have its roots in written language? Would it? I mean,
absolutely. There's always that tension. Yeah.
So you'd have to be working through that as well with them, I guess. Or had a lot of that already been done?
There was a literacy production centre where there was materials produced, but we produced various stuff of our own, just on cards and charts and stuff. But yeah, not unfortunately, of course, not high quality books to read and so forth. They had the more homegrown look about them, the books.
Well, which is partly those times, and I'm sure because
absolutely,
you also didn't have an endless bucket of money, I would imagine.
No,
so
definitely
both
not.
of those things. And is the Tiwi language, I'm assuming it's a separate language group, is it similar to some of the mainland languages, or is it quite different?
Look, I've forgotten how. It is part of a larger group of languages, yes. That's a short answer. Look, I'm not qualified to go, and I haven't thought about that for a long time, so I've forgotten what languages it related to. Yeah, it's definitely an Aboriginal language. Does relate in some ways to some of the mainland languages, but not even as a dialect. A dialect, definitely a different language.
Yeah.
And then, of course, once I left there, I moved to Darwin and was already thinking about trying to make a living as a professional musician and performer, performing around schools for my songs with songs, because I didn't have enough material. And that's when I began writing in earnest in English, and also in the Creole, what's called Milk Bamili Creole, which is a language that grew out of the Pidgin contact languages. So Creole is a first language, it becomes a first language. And And so I began writing in that because it was such a, even though it's controversial amongst linguists because they prefer to be working on traditional languages, it's a very usable and entertaining language, you know. One Malayanim dog, Devin Goblo, Jevin Goblo, Ogabat, you know, things like that I was doing. And yeah, but I wasn't able to make it work, so I was working in schools doing singing more with ESL actually. And then I came across and did grad dip in Aboriginal education at Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander education at James Cook, and then I went up into Arakoon and various places and spent time at Yarrabah, quite a long time at Yarrabah. Then I came down here. And then by that stage, you know, quite a few years down the track, 10 years, let's say, bit more than 10 years, I had the material, and then I began performing and tended to be back up in North Queensland and Arnhem Land and places like that because of the sort of my songwriting changed at a certain point, but my songwriting for kids was very much concerned with Northern Australia lifestyles, I guess, and it was grounded in not so much fantasy as kind of gritty and adventurous, you know, stuff like Big Storm.
I remember one of the first ones I heard of yours, down the creek. We're going to go down the creek. And, yes, and those ones and adventure.
So they're grounded, and there's not many that, you know, I can remember hearing the Wiggles and wincing at their sort of attempts at sort of trying to be inclusive with Aboriginal stuff in one of their first album, I think it was. And I thought, and I realised that I do really know what I'm talking about in terms of the lifestyle, if not the culture. But yeah, so that was a strength that and that was my interest at the time too. Yeah, and then my training in offshore work, I think that happened in 2013. That changed my songwriting dramatically. And by that stage, I wasn't a classroom teacher, I was a music teacher by that stage. I started music teaching about 2000, might have been 1999, down on the Sunshine Coast. But my songwriting, I'd been writing for 2 decades already. So I started in the 80s, so the beginning of the 80s, then in the 90s. But in the noughties, the 2000s, I'd kind of dipped. I'd been very productive. I'd, you know, written many albums over those 2 decades, albums worth of material. And then it took a dip, and I had my midlife adult band crisis. So I had a band which I sort of thought of as my midlife crisis band.
Oh, wow. What, just a rock band? Was it a rock band?
Well, yeah, it's sort of semi-rock, soft rock perhaps. But, and I wrote lovely material for that. And people liked it. And it was fun, but it's not, you know, I do think that the world of adult music is done. Like, there are countless millions of really seriously good songwriters, and then there are the truly stellar great songwriters. But in amongst children's music, it's the real quality is a lot thinner on the ground, and that is my strength. So I've always returned to that because, and it's what I do love it. I've loved my teaching career as a music teacher, even though I resisted it for the first half of my career, stayed in the classroom. I'm really glad I saw sense and you know, went down that path.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine as a music teacher, that would give you great insight into children's music and the way children, you know, perform and what they like and what they don't like. And I mean, it's got to give you a better perspective as a composer, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do have a sense of things that work, certainly in the classroom musically, and there's a fair depth in a lot of experience. Yeah.
Yes, and I don't know enough of your pieces, but the ones I know, I just love so much. They're so beautiful. Some of my favorites. I mean, So Many Stars is just beautiful.
Yeah, that's a little girl. That was written. I wrote that. I think it was in 2007. The biggest success I've ever had in terms of sort of being out there in the world was my Underneath the Mango Tree round.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And, as a Queensland girl, that's what it's about. Like, that's everyone.
It was such a simple song. Look, so many of them I don't actually remember writing, but I do remember sitting at my little Beale upright piano and working on that when I was living in the garage. Now, was I living in the garage? But certainly at the Beale piano, 2007. No, so and Underneath the Mango Tree was written, in 1980s. Anyway, but I remember at the piano, I had the piano in various places, that's why I can't place it. But it was actually Underneath the Mango Tree where hiding in the tree was a chimpanzee, and it didn't work for me. And it only dawned on me, Tana Kinney, the Tiwi. So it was, and that's where it came to be. But I've always been interested in rounds, and so, but the ABC ran with it. So the ABC sing books used it in, I think it was 1990.
Yes.
And then
did ABC approach you? Did they approach you?
No, I think I sent it to them. I think I sent them a few songs, and that was the one they went with. And then they later on went with the partner song that I wrote for it, Tana Kinney, which is hide and seek, can't you see me? That one it's not on, it's with it now, it's just part of it. And they put that as a separate song, and then they also used this was starting to be a theme now, the Aboriginal connection, which is always problematic. Sorry, I'll just stop this. They published Sik Bala Bala Man Baba, which is in Creole. And I thought, oh, well, if that's what they like, I'll write a sequel to Underneath the Mango Tree, which was So Many Stars. And So Many Stars is a nice little join of my other, I think I've joked to you, the song that if anyone says, which song would you wish you'd written? I always say, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. 200 years old and a beautifully philosophical, but so gentle and almost so people sort of, it's a song that has stood the test of time, and it's a very beautiful little thing in its own way. So that was a nice conjunction of that. That's where the
I like that. I've never heard the Twinkle Twinkle. I love that. And also on YouTube, which is where I came across, mind you, I think I have all your CDs in my cupboard, but I just don't use my CDs anymore. I must rip them all in. But I use So Many Stars from YouTube, and that little glockenspiel sounds, and it's just beautiful. Even the visual.
Yeah, I love when I think about songs. So, and not just kids' songs, any songs. There are songs that are built around the orchestration or the band or whatever it might be, and just an incredible conjunction of, the production. But to me, the great songs are ones that can stand alone with minimal accompaniment and can be done very well by most people or most performers, let's say. And so, I think when you've got something, if it can be done with a minimal, and it's fun to arrange songs. One does, but I
yeah, I
like the
agree.
fact that one's simply got an ostinato, which is a kind of a Glock sound.
Yeah, but it's just, and I agree. And as most music teachers surely agree. You've got to have that melody.
Descending cliche, the rundown of the bass line, chord instruction. But yeah, it works. Yeah,
it's beautiful.
That was one of my favourites too.
Oh, good. Well, what I shouldn't be saying, hey, my favourites are, what, as the composer, what are your favourites?
Look, there are some that surprise me, but it's not surprising. I understand the reality of the world, the school world that we're living in now, but there was a lot more time when teachers would be able to sing songs if they were so just, disposed in their own classroom, and it just doesn't happen now. There's no time.
No, isn't it sad?
And even for music teachers are now, we'll get into this maybe later, but there's not enough just pure enjoyment of singing and music, even in a music classroom nowadays.
Yes, even that is becoming minimised, and that's something I think we need to be super aware of. Yeah. But I think we will come back to that one because I want to talk.
Anyway, so yeah, favourites.
Yeah, your favourites. I know it's a bit like choosing your favourite child.
What's that?
It's a bit like choosing your favourite child.
The songs that work, I've got a list of things. I really like Whimsy Was a Little Fish. And for a whole lot of reasons. So it's only one octave. It doesn't play B, but it's also, again, there's a connection with Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, we've got, so you've got bum ba 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 ba. So every discrete beat has either a tar or a titi on it. With Whimsy Was a Little Fish, every discrete beat has the same note. Sometimes it's TT, sometimes it's tar, or sometimes it's ticka ticka. And it's a pattern that's repeated, but there's two sections. There's a section that's virtually all tars, TTs, and SARs, and the second one, which is exactly the same pattern again, melodic line, but that's got ticka tickas this time. And so there's that aspect to it, but it's very usable because if you're playing on melodic percussion, you've only got an octave to work with, so you can even use a set of chime bars for kids. And it's just a cute little song. It is whimsical. I've always liked Secret Asian Magpie, and a lot of people, a lot of kids like that. That's why I revisited it last year to make it a little bit more spiffy for YouTube. Yeah, they're two of my most favourite ones. So Many Stars and Secret Asian Magpie 3, Whimsy. Yeah, there's others. Let me think. I really like Rainbow Snake, which most people may not know.
No, I don't.
I'm going to go up to the Tiwi Islands, I think, and record with the woman that I recorded a lot of that album with. It's very hard to find. She's moved and she's on the other island, Melville Island. I'd like to record it just to sort of bookend almost my writing and recording career and catch up with her and do that. Failing that, but I'd like to do it with an Aboriginal person. So you can echo it for me. It goes like this. There's a rainbow fish.
There's a rainbow fish.
There's a rainbow bird.
There's a rainbow bird.
A rainbow beach.
A rainbow beach.
That's what I've heard.
That's what I've heard.
But big and dangerous.
But big and dangerous.
Is the rainbow snake.
Is the rainbow snake.
Travels the land.
Travels the land.
Sleeps under the lake.
Sleeps under the lake.
Here I am, it's me.
Here I am, it's me.
Standing in the rain.
Standing in the rain.
Suddenly, sunshine again.
sunshine again.
Everything's glowing
Everything's glowing
in the rainbow light.
in the rainbow light.
Up in the sky,
Up in the sky,
beautiful sight.
a beautiful sight. Oh,
So,
you'll have to forgive
and
my
then
morning voice. Sorry. That's
yes, mine's a bit
beautiful.
raggedy too. I'm post-COVID.
Oh dear.
But yeah, that's a nice little echo song, an action song for little poppers, little previes and ones.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to grab that
It
one.
is a nice little song,
Yes.
and I have actually got a demo of it. I did record it, but I didn't have that second verse. So the second verse is only a recent addition. But I wrote that song in Weeper when I was on tour up in a Cape York tour that I did in about 2002 or something. Maybe later, maybe 2004, because I didn't record the first version of it till the mid-2000s. But anyway.
Oh no, that
Yeah,
sounds
I will
beautiful.
do that one. It is a sweet, and the Echo song thing is where I actually started out. One of my other favourites actually is in the Tiwi language called Chimi, and that was an Echo song. And this was all as with a view to being a performer. And when the kids don't know your material and you want them to be taking part musically, that's a good method to have an Echo song. And that Rainbow Snake song is my best Echo song. I think I've written a few, but the Waikawa one was quite popular on Bathurst Island. And I think I've got the fast version up on YouTube. There was a slow version which I recorded with some of my Aboriginal relations. And it's a much more mournful, sad version, but I haven't put that up. The people that sang have since passed. Yeah, I'm sort of a bit, I don't know, protective about that one or something. I'm not sure.
Yes.
Yeah, anyway.
You'd have to check. The other one that I love, I'm going to jump in again because I'm doing it now because we're going to sing this one as part of our NAIDOC week celebrations. I'm doing Living in Australia because...
Yeah, well, look, that is a favourite. Look, that's a strong little song, a lovely little action song.
The kids just love it.
Again, it's a very my new version up on YouTube. Have you seen it?
Have we seen it? I'm responsible for most of the views. So there you go. Do you know what? Good. I've even sent the link home to my families at school because some of them have asked me, oh, can you tell us about that Australia song? I went, okay. So I actually emailed home the link to my lower school kids and the parents have gone, this is so good. And the kids are singing it. It's like viral at my lower school.
Yeah, it's a lovely little song, and it is one of my favourites too. And I remember writing that one. I wrote it in Darwin when I was living in Darwin, and I was driving, and it just came to me while I was driving home from having sung around the schools all day. I was doing 2, sometimes 3 schools in a day, and it just came to me, and then I just finished it off at home, and yeah, it's a nice little song. But that video, I went to a lot of trouble to get that. You'd be surprised how difficult it is to get people to actually, yeah, I'll do that. And then when they say, well, I'm waiting, and it doesn't happen, even though they're good intentions, life being what it is. But so I ended up going up to Darwin to get the final one, the little guy. He's my, forgotten what I call him, he's basically he's my great nephew, because his mum is my niece. I think I'm not very good at relations, but anyway, the adoptive Tiwi.
So
and he was so cool. It was so funny. If you look at that video, if you watch when he sings, they were all here before the white man knew. The action is, they were all here before the white man knew, but he goes, they were all here before the white man knew, and he's pointing at me as the white man. So, so that's he's a cute little guy.
Oh no, but the other good thing about that song, apart from the fact I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't like a great song, because I'm a music teacher, but we've had some really good and appropriate discussions about the
Yeah.
land and the coming of the white man and Indigenous people, because to me that song gives us a window into appropriate discussion with younger children. You know,
Yeah.
like I don't feel super comfortable, and apart from the fact I don't have time, to launch into great big stolen generation discussions, and with these tiny little kids. But I'm not saying that nobody should do that. I'm just saying, for me in the
Yeah.
music classroom, this is a perfect window. We talk about the animals that have been here for that length of time. We talk about the animals that were introduced on the boats with
Yeah.
the great big sail, you know.
Yeah.
They came over when the white men came over, and the kids are going, white men knew, and it's appropriate and a window into that discussion. And
Well, this is what I like doing with children's songs. I mean, you can't do it with every song, and I don't want to be sort of overly serious all the time, but like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, again, you know, the philosophy, you know, you're wondering about the universe, and in this case, I put those issues on the table in just a purely pragmatic kind of, we're all here, this is how it happened. What are we going to do about it? How do we feel about it? But it's just there, so it's there if you want to take it up, or there if you don't. So yeah, I'm quite proud of that song. It's a good, solid song. I think it'll outlast me. Yeah, that one. Yeah, it's specific to Australia. I did write a New Zealand version. Did a teaching exchange in New Zealand for a year. I've got a New Zealand one. Safe here in New Zealand, there's no snakes upon the ground. Moa disappeared, but the kiwi's still around. Kia, you can see you got a beak just like a hook. Better watch a wetter with a spiky foot. So a wetter is a big cricket. It's about, they have got a katapo spider, but anyway, so yeah, I used to sing that with the kids in New Zealand, and then as an excuse to be able to sing the Australian one.
wow. Well, like, people who are listening to this who don't know your music, we will put links in the show notes to everything that you would like us to. So obviously,
just my website and
your
my
website
YouTube is where
and
I
your
publish it
YouTube.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then people can go have a little search through for all of those things, I think. Yeah, because I think you personally, through your music, have done a lot for you know, helping us to do something around Indigenous perspectives.
Look, it's very tricky where we kind of jump to that question. You know, I have no great advice for anyone. I'm in a very unique, well, not very unique, but an unusual position in that I've got that background of feeling very comfortable with the Tiwi people. I maintain those contacts. I have relations that I continue to visit and to, you know, keep in contact with. And I have a very special, and it is a unique position with the Tiwi people, because I've promoted singing in language in the community, in the school, and I love the feedback that I get from them. And some of my Tiwi songs, really, mostly the viewers are the Tiwi people viewing, particularly my song Niamantanga, which is my very dear friend song. That's Tiwi people watching that. So, you know, Tiwi people watching this white guy singing songs in their language is a unique position to be in. So when you are not in that position, which most everybody isn't, it's tricky if you haven't got connection with an elder or Aboriginal community in your area. So you really have to, you're obliged to at least make some contact through your principal, get some advice, contact someone, at least make an approach, and and ask some advice for whatever it is you want to do. But failing that, and a lot of people are, again, really obviously understandably worried about not pronouncing things correctly or what have you. Okay, well, then you get to the thematic stuff like Living in Australia or Who Know This Land the Best of mine, and other songs that are just topical, and do it that way, and acknowledge it. And even if you can, if you want to do some language, do some counting, just 1, 2, 3, just do something, and do some composing to just counting. And it might only be 1, 2, 3, you know.
That's a good idea.
Plenty of Aboriginal languages don't use much beyond 3. They have ways of doing it, but they don't. So they've got specific numbers, or 3 up to 5, or many, or whatever it might be. But that's one thing. Or just so it's something you can compose with the kids if your Aboriginal community is comfortable with it, or if you are. But failing that, topical songs, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Now, one of the questions I like to ask people that I chat to is to tell us about people that have been influential in your life, personal or professional.
Sure. The person that springs to mind, and it is mentioned in that biography and on my website, is Alex Hood, a folkie, big, tall, folkie guy. And I saw him perform the first time I've seen him perform a number of times, when I was still at Teachers College. And he was the guy, he wrote a song that was huge back in the day with the sing books, Here Comes Brumby Jack.
Oh my goodness. You know, I knew his name, but yeah, here comes Brumby Jack, bringing the horses down the track.
Yep. So he also wrote a great little concert song, which I used to use in my concerts, called The Laughing Song. Well, I'm going to sing a laughing song. I can't even do it with his throat. And funny laughs. He did it beautifully. But he was very positive about Aboriginal culture, did a bit of didge playing, played cowbones, and did sort of topical Australiana stuff. And it was a very well-rounded, very professional touring shows, one-man show that he did. And I was inspired by him. I have actually met him a few times, and I helped him out when he was doing a tour up in Northern Territory, and I gave him a translation of that laughing song and a couple of my Creole songs, because he'd had an unfortunate issue at the Wood Folk Festival one year with some young Aboriginal guys not liking him play the didgeridoo, and he was very upset. He was very shaken by it, and it was just unfortunate all the way around. And so he went up there with some of my songs, which was nice. So I was sort of repaid the favour, so I always found him inspiring. But then when it comes to I did write this down. Where are they? So apart from Alex Hood, what happened, I did my music teacher training. I did that 300-hour, 10-week course with Anne Kaminsky.
Oh,
and she's great.
Oh
my goodness.
Beyond
so
great.
I got well and truly cadied then, and I could see, I mean, just such wonderful approaches and exciting, it just opened up possibilities of music for me. I still didn't end up as a music teacher until I think it was 1999 when it began at Glasshouse Mountains. But so Anne was a big influence and a big inspiration. And then, of course, for me, even when I was at Teachers College, the Orff stuff spoke to me because of the emphasis on playing and I love the melodic percussion aspect to it, the composition side to it. That was very, very exciting to me, and largely Bethany Rowe, Bethany Ellsworth. I don't know if you know Beth, but
Yes.
wonderful educator,
Right.
and she's been a big inspiration. And through Quosa, the Queensland Offshore work, there was a guy that came across from San Francisco, Doug Goodkin, and Doug Goodkin. Actually, he was responsible for a whole thing that I did, my music making with rhymes. So he's a very incredible Orff practitioner, amazing, wonderful teacher, just as a teacher, the person that he is and the way he teaches children. And he taught me all sorts of things, like the noise level, you know, with xylophones in the room or chime bars. Play with your fingernail. Just play with your finger was a fantastic thing. Turning xylophone bars upside down if they're not used in the piece, or removing them, obviously, but keeping them there is better when you're performing, or it just means you don't lose them for a start. So just put them upside down. I used to put an X underneath it too, so this was obviously not going to play that one. So Doug Goodkin, so a lot of call and response stuff, beautiful approaches, you know, you give them a task and wish the kids good luck, you know, and he's just written a book. I've just ordered it. You can order it through the Offshore Work Association of South Australia. It's called Teach Like It's Music.
Oh, great title.
It is, Teach Like It's Music, and I think this is something to aspire to, yeah, like it's a work of art. And I've forgotten what the subtitle of the book is now. I don't know whether I've got it written down somewhere. Yeah, Teach Like It's Music is his new book. He's just retired after teaching 45 years at the one school at San Francisco Alternative School, where they have music twice a week in class of 45 minutes a session.
Oh, lucky
and
kids.
they come up with these wonderful jazz players, and the kids are steeped in music. Great.
So good.
Jealous.
Oh, it's
45 minutes twice a week with half a class, I think, too. I think they're I don't think they're full classes even. They really are serious about it.
that is amazing. The kids just must benefit so much from that.
And someone like Doug there, and the team that he's got, he's just retired, but yeah, incredible.
That would have been amazing to go see.
So yeah, Doug was a big influence. So that his use of rhymes and call and response blew me away. So in composing, I wrote a whole collection of rhymes to be used for kids to write music to. And that's called music making with rhymes, scaffolded composing in primary school. Yeah. So yeah, people can get that through my website if they're interested. But they're lovely little structures to work with the kids. You know, if it's open-ended, it can be way too huge and go down all sorts of complicated rabbit holes. But yeah, scaffolding it with rhymes is a great way to work, and call and response too.
Yes,
so that was Doug. That was Doug. So yeah, and there's plenty of good people out there like yourself that just, I love the energy that people devote to it, and we're lucky. You know, we're so lucky to be in a job that we're passionate about, that we believe in, and we can clearly see the benefit of, and the children can see the benefit of, and the families can see the benefit of, if you're delivering something that is musical. You know, that, yeah, it's the best job in the world when it's working well. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
It's tough when it's not, but it's the best job when it's working well.
But even when it's working well, it's still big job. It's still got its, it's exhausting and it's all of those
Well, I
things.
think, but any teaching is, you can't be pretending. You've got to be there with the kids in the moment. And if you're not, well, they're going to call you out. And if you're not genuinely, meeting them, interacting with them and sharing with them.
Yes, and forming real relationships. They know, if you're pretending, don't they? So
absolutely,
I quite like that. You can leave your problems behind. Let's just do this. Joy of music. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Now for the second part of my chat with Ian Ross Williams. I know you're going to love it. If you missed the first part, pop back and listen to episode 14 before you listen to this episode. And another question I like to ask, so we're up to the standard bits that I like to ask my guests. And this is a huge question, really, but for what are you most grateful?
It made me laugh when I saw that question. I'm grateful for everything. My family, my upbringing, the country that I was born in, my health. It just goes on and on. The fact that I've been able to develop confidence in music in my own little area. Now, you'd be very surprised. Like my theoretical knowledge, and I'm very limited in so many ways. I'm not very quick on the uptake, but my little island of expertise, which is writing songs and teaching, I found my level. Primary school music, I can be really good at that, and writing songs for kids, I'm good at that. But when it comes to, I go to these in-services and people like Doug Goodkin or Richard Gill or whoever it might be, they go, you're a bit limited when it comes to this, that. Yeah, I know. I really am. But I'm so grateful that I'm confident at least to be able to do that little thing. Look, my family, my life, it's just, you wake up in the morning where I live, the birds are singing, the trees are the sun, it just goes on and on.
It sounds almost too good to be true. But
the experiences that have fallen in my lap and the things that I've been able to explore, it just goes this. I'm grateful for everything. Yeah.
We are just so lucky, aren't we, to be born here, born now, and all of those things.
I've never been to war.
Yes. So yeah, I'm with you. Yes, grateful for everything. Short answer. Yeah. And so we're up to my nuggets of fabulous, which I'm hoping by now our listeners are going, I'm looking forward to the nuggets of fabulous, but I almost don't think we need to ask it, but I'm going to, because you've already given us your nuggets of fabulous, the songs that we've talked about.
Only a few.
You've written only a few, but you have picked some of your favorites. So but I'm still going to ask nuggets of fabulous, even though you're now retired recently.
So of other people's things that I've used in my music classroom over the years.
Yeah. What have you
I've
loved?
always loved Big Black Train by Lucille Wood. Big Black Train, Big Black Train. So if you do it in C, Big Black Train, take me up the mountain. Big Black Train, take me down again. Sweet little thing that lovely on melodic percussion. Played on the guitar in the key of C, so you've got so with my guitar program that I used to do, so I got you're using 2 strings, 2 fingers, so that's one of my own little golden nuggets. I'll get back to that. But so Lucille Wood, I think it was published in the Small Singer, a book from the 80s called The Small Singer. Yeah, Big Black Train. Colin Buchanan's The Mummy song I've always had a lot of mileage out of. It's a hilarious song, great to do live. Look it up you can find it on YouTube, his version. But it's just a hilarious song that the kids, I think that's probably would rank as one of the songs I would have liked to have written myself. Just a great, hilarious thematic song. And speaking of other hilarious things, I'll do this because this is a good platform to do. So this game, this is just a ludicrously ridiculous game that works with most year levels, not the very young, is a game called Evolution. And I got it through my wife, Josie, who was teaching Italian at the time. She was a low teacher at the time. And so the kids play scissors, paper, rock. And in our area of Queensland, they do say scissors, paper, rock. Other places they go paper, they do it in different order and they go 1, 2, 3 or whatever. But the version everyone does it here is scissors, paper, rock, or whatever it is, scissors, paper, rock. Even though they're saying rock, they do another one. So you've got 5 levels. You start out as a chickie. If you win, you go become a chook. If you win, you become a dinosaur. If you win, you become an old fossil. If you win, you become the super being at the top level. So the only element of music in this is you sing volare at the end as a super being. So I'll show you what you do. Okay. So you crouch down as chickie. You play scissors, paper, rock. If you lose, you're still a chickie. You go and find another chickie. If you win, you become a chook. So you're a chook. You play scissors, paper, rock. Find someone that's doing the same action as you. You must do the action so they can find you. Sure. If you win, you become a dinosaur, a long-necked dinosaur.
Okay. Yep.
You find another dinosaur, places burrow. If you win, you become an old fossil like me. You got a sore knee and a sore back. Oh, look out, Sonny, I'm an old fossil. If you lose, you go back and find another old fossil. If you win, this is what you have to do with me modelling what it is. Volare, whoa, cantare, whoa, oh, 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 do, 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 volare, and so it goes. It's ridiculous. The noise level absolutely crescendos up until but then gradually everyone is doing this stupid dance and song routine. And so
do they keep doing...
I don't know whether it's music, but kids go to Italy and come back. Okay. Mr. Williams, they were singing that song.
I love it. So do they keep
in Naples or whatever,
Do they keep singing the winner's song until there's more winners?
Until everyone's doing it except for the 4 leftovers. So that's where you've got to be very, at the end, let them come in and join too, because finally, you do get one person. You've got 2 left. They play scissors, paper, rock. 1 wins. The other one's left on that level. So you've got, if they haven't cheated, I write it up on the whiteboard. So you've got, so they know, they don't forget, because you can forget as a little kid. You don't know what level you're up to. But it's a ridiculously funny thing, and it just gives you joy because everyone's just being an idiot, and you just love it,
Oh, I
and
think
you're singing this volare song, which I did learn when I went to Italy with Josie one time. I did learn how to sing. I've since forgotten, sadly, but I actually sang the whole volare song in public and did it in a bit of a silly way too. But,
well, I'll have to learn, never having sung the volare song. And for those
well, people, you don't have to sing. You only sing in the first 2 lines or whatever it is.
Yeah, and
so they're nuggets of fabulous, as you call them, that I've liked. Of my own material, I think if I had to name the biggest single thing that I got an enormous amount of positive feedback from kids and for parents, it would be the guitar program that I developed, which I got the insight into how to work it from Wayne Dower at Mooloolaba State School.
Mm-hmm.
And So I developed this guitar program, which I'm happy to send to people if they contact me. It's demanding, and if you have, it depends on how you approach your classroom. But so just move over a bit so you can see this. So it starts out, I've got it in levels. So we've got 10 levels. It does go beyond. I've got 15 levels per. So you're moving towards fingerstyle playing. You're playing melody. The very first thing they learn to do is learning, and they're playing by tablature with the rhythm stick notation. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So they're learning to do this, keep their fingers in the right order. So gradually you get up to big black training level 4. Not that fast, obviously. Then you've got Jingle Bells, level 5. And when you get to level 7, you've got Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star.
There's your favourite.
There it is. So now we're using 3 strings. So a bit hard to see, but. And so on. So then we proceed up, and when you get to level 10, you've got things like and so on. So there's another one that Wayne wrote, which was. So you're learning to play fingerstyle with 3 strings, and you're using these the fingers. So rather than teaching en masse, trying to teach chords, which works for a very small percentage of kids, playing like that, they can all do it. I've had kids in year 2, even in year 1, playing amazing stuff. And so if you want to go down that kind of an instrumental path where you're actually teaching an instrument, it's enormous. But I used to loan the guitars out. Kids take the guitars home and learn it at home. Just give them the sheets and what have you. And I've got it on. I've got another. It's a bit ordinary production, but it's Guitar Star. So if you type in Guitar Star level 6 or level whatever it is, it's on YouTube, supported on YouTube, so they can go and find it, how to play that stuff. So that was a big one. My most popular song to sing with the kids was Secret Agent Magpie.
Yeah.
And Living in Australia. And Whimsy Was a Little Fish. The kids love playing that on melodic percussion. If you've got xylophones or marimbas, it's just such fun to play because you get really fast at it. You've got to look at your sticking pattern. So you've got to be actually teaching technique. But the kids really love that one. There's plenty of songs. I mean, everyone loves getting good at anything. But they did love that song. It was only one of my most recent ones before I finished. But yeah, so they're my little
nuggets
little
of
ones.
fabulous.
Rainbow Fish was always a lovely little finger play style thing to do with the little kids. I used to, because a lot of people wouldn't be comfortable doing it, but I used to make it quite a funny thing too. So I'd substitute silly lyrics as well. So yeah, there's all those things in your own teaching style that come out that you value add as much as you can to whatever you do, of course. And so yeah. Anyway, there's some other things that I'd say. Yeah, my recorder stuff. I still like recorders, but there's such bad press about it, and so many people in Australia sort of go, recorders, and yet. If you teach them to play well and don't do it en masse, that's my pet hate. Don't play with a class or playing recorders. It's a waste of time. They can't hear. They can't hear themselves, so they blow louder, and there's this horrible sound in these plastic cheap recorders. I'm with you there, but I believe they're a great tool and can be used in many ways, but not en masse. Send them out and learn separately if you're going to do it like that, or have little groups. But yeah.
Yes, but they can be beautiful. I still use them as a tool.
Oh, look,
I
there's
think
nothing.
they're beautiful and affordable. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, the treble recorder, a good treble recorder. Oh, how beautiful is that sound? It's a beautiful sound.
Yeah.
People don't know. Go and listen to the start of Stairway to Heaven. That's recorders.
Do you know what?
Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven.
I never made that connection. That would be cool to play for the kids, wouldn't it?
I had a recorder ensemble do that years ago. We didn't get all the way. We just did that first part. I've forgotten how we sort of tapered it off. But yeah, I had bass, treble, tenor, whatever. Descant. I don't think we had a piccolo, but whatever you call it, the little
is it a sopranino? Is it?
Yeah, sopranino. But we had three different parts, 3 or 4 different parts playing Stairway to Heaven. Yeah, because I played.
That would be so cool. That would be so cool. All right.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Gorgeous instrument. So there's basically 2 little questions left, really. Well, 1 question and 1 chance for you to get on your soapbox. So advocacy. Now, most people know I'm working pretty hard at this stage, as there are quite a few of us doing, to save music education. I'll just put it that way. We can put it however you wish, but there are programs being diminished. A lot of people not seeing music education as important. And of course, we know it's not just important, it's vital. So as I'm chatting to people, I'm just asking if they have any advice to give other music teachers.
I wish I did, but I just think you and Deb are doing an absolutely great job, and I just hope people support you by following up on all your different strands of what you're doing. Beyond that, no, I don't have anything, sadly. I think it's already terribly unfortunate what's happening. I don't know whether it's my age. I just look at things spiraling down and quality, and unfortunately, it's part of a wider scene of things, content being squandered in, rather than sort of glossing over this surface of so much stuff that we're cluttered with, we're supposedly trying to achieve and not doing properly. And to have this absolute wonderful aspect of Queensland education to be being diluted and trickled away, it's just criminal. But I think you've got your finger on the pulse. I've really stepped back from, I haven't quite retired. I think I told you I'm doing a day teaching music again at the River School in Mullaney, and that's great. It's really interesting not to be in the state system. They value music. I have hour-long lessons.
Wow.
And the classes are small, which is lovely. So, yeah, I'm doing 1 day a week now. So it's a good work-life balance. 6-day weekend, but don't mean to brag. But it's never quite as simple as that. You've got in-services and meetings and, etc. Email trails that go on forever and what have you. But yeah, I'm loving the different style of things and still getting used to it. It's quite a new learning curve. It's fun, actually.
That's good. And do you know what? It's nice to know that you're still working with children too. Well,
I felt, it is my area of expertise, writing this stuff, and it's where I still look. I'm still chasing, as I joked with you one time, the greatest and best song in the world. Tribute.
Yeah.
I love
go
the
Jack
fact
Black.
That your son was obsessed with it, but
he was,
and that was actually that song was, of course, written about Stairway to Heaven. But and I didn't. That's something I didn't go down when I wanted to talk a little bit more about getting inspired and how I write, we didn't.
Oh yes, we
didn't
sort
touch
of
on
didn't
that.
get right into that. Yeah.
So, with regards writing, I've always written poetry since I was a kid, but I began songwriting in earnest. Well, not in earnest, but I began songwriting in my teens, and then realised that I did have some element of talent in writing for kids, particularly once I started my teacher training and so on. But I've always admired good songwriting. I've loved music. The world of music is enormous. But actually, as an aspect of music, songs with lyrics has always interested me, and I believe that songwriting is a noble pursuit, and I do believe that, and it's a source of endless fascination to me and great inspiration to me. So the songs that I find excitingly good, like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, tragic though it may sound. I know a lot about that song. There are accomplished musicians that believe Mozart wrote it. He didn't. He did 12 variations on it, but that tune existed before Mozart. That tune was a French folk tune. And then it became popularised. And when it was popularised, around that time is when he decided, well, he can do anything. I'll do 12 variations. And they're like exhausting to listen to his variations. They're like unbelievable. You're like, what a show off. But so he didn't write it. But the whole background of songs. So, and another thing that has always struck me with so many of the truly great songs. If I had to rank the all-time greatest song ever written, as opposed to a folk song that's come through, like The Water is Wide, which is gloriously, heart-wrenchingly beautiful, I would probably rank Over the Rainbow as the greatest song. But this is only, it's a funny kind of a game because it's all a matter of taste. But that song was written for children. And this happens time and again. And the story behind it is fantastic. Louis Mayer didn't like it, was going to kick it out of the movie. The guys that wrote it, Arlen and Harburg, singer-songwriter, the melodicist, the lyricist and the composer, they had a method, and it's a method that is what I like, but I'm only one person. So you have an idea lyrically or as a topic or as a title, and then you go to the music and then you bring in the lyric. But there's so many variations on that. But that was written, that was their task. They were writing for The Wizard of Oz. And the moment of inspiration when it comes is so exciting. And even on my little level, when you crack or you find the key to the song that is going to make it special, because you're looking for more than just, like, anyone can write a song. You can put a melody to anything you say. Everything we say has rhythm and melody, but it's not going to be memorable or useful or exciting, let's say. And so when you find those little things, it's just great. And to get into that zone, so it's always on my agenda. I am a songwriter. That's what I do. And that's always, so this is part of the battle, because if you're only doing it part-time, you're going to have to find time to do it some. But I do it. I like every day I'm thinking, I don't spend a lot of time, but I do. I tell my wife, I'm not just sitting here doing nothing, I'm thinking. And I might be working through some idea, but yeah, the other thing that, so the other thing about kids and great timeless songs like Over the Rainbow. So that was written for children. Maya felt that it was too adult for kids. But of course, this is another thing that happens in children's music. People undersell what kids can understand. And you can pitch any concept at all to a kid. If you pitch it at the correct level, there's nothing you can't get a kid to gain some understanding of. So I never want to undersell what I find, which is not to say I don't do stupid, silly songs that are just silly and fun. Though I don't do that particularly well, I don't think. I'm a bit more of a serious dude. But so there's that. So the other thing, so looking at great songs, I just find it exciting, the backstories to some of the great songs. I don't know if you know the song, I Can't Make, even to actually say this makes me get emotional. The song called I Can't Make You Love Me, do you know that? By Bonnie Raitt. Look it up. Bonnie Raitt, I Can't Make You Love Me.
Write it down, just a minute. I Can't Make You Love. Who is it by?
Bonnie Raitt sings the best version, but it's one of those songs. It's simple piano. Now, quite a famous piano accompanist played the piano for it. The guys that wrote it, they're American guys, and the kernel of the song happened because this guy read an account of a legal proceedings in a newspaper, and this guy had got drunk and fired shots at his girlfriend's car. I don't know whether she was in it, but no one was injured. And it was, whoa. And so he'd been hauled before the courts and he was in, deep doo-doo. And so the magistrate or the judge or whatever said to him, have you learnt anything from this? And this is the account in the newspaper. And the guy said, now I'd like to quote this properly. What did he say? I know what he said, but I just don't want to get the exact words. No, I can't find it. Oh, yes, I can. He said, the judge asked him if he had learned anything, to which he replied, I learned, Your Honour, that you can't make a woman love you if she don't. And I love the fact, and they worked at this song for 6 months. And I love it when you hear stories of it just arrived in your lap, like yesterday, the tune arrived in McCartney's lap. Took him a couple of months before he came up with yesterday. He was driving through Scotland and he just wanted a 3-syllable da-da-da, and he came up with the word yesterday and he was in. So I love that moment where you get whatever it is the key to it. So they knew that they were onto something with this I Can't Make You Love Me, but they nailed it. It took them a while, and then they were playing it at a much faster tempo, and then finally the guy that wrote the music pulled it back, and he got his friend, they've been working on it once a week for the best part of 6 months, and he played it slowly and they sang it and they just practically sort of fainted. They knew, the lyricist said that I knew this was the most important thing that I'd ever done, that I'd ever been part of. These stories are just lovely, but back to the theme about children and great songs. I don't know if you know about the Beatles documentary, the 8 or 9 hour Beatles documentary, Get Back, which has just been released on Disney. So it's a huge thing done by Peter Jackson, who did Lord of the Rings. He's waded through however many hours of footage and put it together. And of course, I'm a big Beatles fan. The late part of the Beatles is miraculous and a source of great inspiration because of the breadth and the amount of cool children's material that's in there. And my as a songwriter, Lennon in that period of time was doing a lot of that psychedelic, so-called psychedelic stuff, which is in fact a nostalgia for the simplicity and the innocence of childhood. And songs like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, directly from his child's drawing, but about his own childhood, incredible lyric, Strawberry Fields. His abilities as a songwriter, the way that it was often pitched towards children. Dear Prudence is another favourite of my stuff. All the references to childhood in that. When Dear Prudence, Won't You Come Out to Play? He did this a lot, and what's called psychedelic music, the psychedelic stuff, is actually really well connected to children again. And you see this time and again. Great songs that have a real connection with the child in yourself as a songwriter, or so I find that really exciting, but also just loving the backstories of some of these songs, you know, and that gets me in a zone, because I do find it really exciting. Back on Lennon, you know, the lyrics, his lyrics were so sophisticated and so individual. Just to quote two quite different songs, Strawberry Fields, when he says in verse 2, I think it is, if you read it out, always know, sometimes think it's me, but you know I know when it's a dream. I think I know, I mean, yes, but it's all wrong. That is, I think I disagree. Wow. I just find it astounding that, you know, he was rattled with drugs at the time, but he was using this to come up with this incredibly sophisticated wordplay. And I just find wordplay fascinating, and I love it. And I do love the whole melodic and chordal thing too, but I'm not very sophisticated in that area, but I do love the lyric. I've been trying to get away with the Orff thing, because I've been doing the Orff thing seriously for 10 years now. I'm trying to get back to lyric-driven topical stuff, but I'm still getting dragged back into the Orff thing. The other John Lennon example of Lennon's sophistication with his lyric, which seemed to dissipate after he left the Beatles, but because he was using that whole the child aspect to inspire his lyric. Mm-hmm. But another example of his lyric, which I just love, and people may laugh at this too, and in fact in the Let It Be, Get Back doco, they claimed that his song Don't Let Me Down was corny. I think it's heart-wrenching. So Don't Let Me Down, beautifully recorded for the Let It Be. No, it didn't go on the Let It Be album, but whenever it came out. And from the first time that she really done me, oh, she done me good. And when you come across like that, to me, I find that as a lyricist, just when you can turn something around to have layers of meanings, and just love it, absolutely love it, as you can tell. Don't get me started.
No, I can tell. And do you know what, Ian, I really think that I think that does come through in your music that you write. That your love
I hope that does, because
your love of the lyric, and you know,
I agonize over these lyrics. Yeah. There are many hours, sleepless nights of just working through things. But when you find, it's just so exciting when you do find a little key, or you find a little aspect that's just raised your song a little bit to another level. A plug. we were talking about rounds. I nailed that song, which is now called Monotone Dreams. It's a round. I think it's one of the best things I've written. It'll be coming out in about probably only a couple of weeks. It's virtually ready to go. I've finished the recording. I'll be putting it out on YouTube. It's called Monotone Dreams, and it's a round. And that song, I'd come up with the lyric, and I ran it past you actually. I'm an echidna. So actually, I'll sing it. But
Yes, sing it. Yeah,
I'll
sing it.
I'll sing the wrong lyric. Oh dear, this is badly actually. I'm an echidna and everyone knows you're the platypus that I chose. Bum, bum, I like So the lyric there, I initially came up with hooning across Australia, documentary stars of the show, and I didn't like hooning. Is a bit too, you don't really want hooning in a song. But I finally came up with beaming across Australia, which then tied in with the documentary. And it was the right word. And when you get that, you go, yes. So then I was playing with monotremes. So I've got TV monotremes in stereo. And then it's my favourite rhyme that I've come up with for a long time. Cuddle in my puggle in my burrow. I know, because... So that rhymes with the uddler, cuddle, cuddling my puggle in my burrow. Burrow, the O rhymes with the end rhyme and the internal rhyme of cuddling my puggle in my burrow. So I thought, I've nailed it. I've got it.
No, that's it. That little, I know what you mean. That little magic, that little bit of that internal rhyme that ties
detail.
up. Yep. And that's...
And then it lifts it. And then that you can then build on that excitement of and whatever. It seems to, the juices flow and the ideas come. So the melody for that gave me a bit of grief, because around, it's got to be so cyclical and it's got to lay out properly. And so I spent a bit of time on that. Not a lot of time, but I really like it. It's a nice and interesting chord progression that most of them are dead simple that I do, but so it went from E minor to B minor to C to D. So we start on a minor, so you got the 1, then you got the 5 minor, then you got a 6 and a 7 or something, C to D. So yeah, it's interesting enough on that level, but it's quirky. But again, when you think about how quirky some of the stuff that Lennon did in that Beatles, middle to late Beatles period, you think, throw it out there, It is sometimes surprising, songs that you think, it's one of the best things I've ever written. They don't go very well necessarily, but so I am aware that my YouTube audience is primary school music teachers, and that's fine, because that's where I'm at. But it'd be lovely if some of these more topical songs could find their way back into the world. As kids' songs go, people always think of, particularly from our generation, Puff the Magic Dragon. But then there's like The Lion Sleeps Tonight, when that's an interesting story, because that's actually based on an African song called Mube, and they finally got paid royalties from Pete Seeger, who'd made a hit with Wimoweh. The biggest hit was with a song called The Lion Sleeps Tonight, but it all came from this. They know who wrote it. Solomon was his surname. But all of these big songs, so many of them connect with some aspect of childhood, and it's really the kernel of who we are somehow, that you do carry the child that you were with you, and it stays, and it comes out, and I'm lucky to be able to play with that,
You're allowed to indulge your inner child all the time, and we get to benefit from that.
But that's going back to teaching again. You do miss the actual contact when you do the music, and you're seeing, you're getting that reward, you're getting that back. Yeah. So that's of course one of the highlights writing songs is seeing and hearing when people do recordings in some other country or ex-students asking for recordings or saying how much it meant, all of that, you know what it's like. It's lovely. But to know that your songs are being sung is exciting and heartening and eminently pleasurable.
Well, I can tell you, I'll speak on behalf of all the other music teachers. We're very, very grateful that you've written all these beautiful things and that you're still writing. So there you go, public thank you.
I wonder, every song you finish and think, oh, is that the last one? You know, because I'm at that juncture. I worked, was it yesterday, quite a while on something that didn't go anywhere. So fair portion of the day, let's say 3 or 4 hours, and more, because then when I go off walking in the bush or on a bicycle, I didn't go anywhere. But currently I've got 3 or 4 songs in the wing. I've got the Monotremes one. I have virtually finished a ridiculous electro pop song called Wombat on a Mission. I'm trying to get away from that Australian animal thing too, but I'm also trying to get thematic and not sort of music teacher off. I keep getting dragged back into that because I suppose that's my heartland, you know. But,
well, we like
I've
you
got
there.
these. What's that?
We like you there. You can hang around.
Yeah, no, I'm comfortable there. But I think, you know, I've really given the music teacher Orff thing a good shot. My 2 Xylo beat collections, the Music Make Me Rhymes, my last CD that I ever recorded, One Heartbeat from the Sun, was infused with that as well. So these current songs, ridiculous as it is, Wombat on a Mission isn't a school teacher, music teacher song. I don't know that whether many music teachers are going to like it actually, but it's ridiculous. It's more closely related to Crazy Frog than anything else.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Oh no, look.
Unfortunately, my video budget, my animation budget, not up there.
Well, I still would like to hear it. I think that'll be amazing.
Well, it's not meant to be taken too seriously.
No,
but that's the last thing I've written. So now I'm in a space. So stay tuned. Check out YouTube. I try and get one up a month, but to write and record and make a video is tricky. Though I have got a back catalogue that I dip into as well to pad it out. Yeah, I've got a back catalogue. There's no doubt about that.
That is amazing. I have learned so much. It's been absolutely fascinating speaking to you this morning. I just thank you.
I'm going so much.
I'm probably going to split this into 2 episodes, so that it's, you know, I think because it's been long and wonderful, but I think I'll chop that in 2. But before we sign off, you get a chance to...
Well, before you go, before that, I do want to thank you for all your support and interest too. I really do appreciate it. I really, really do. If people want to find me, is that where you're going to go or somewhere else? But check out my YouTube channel and check the playlist. It's got a music teacher playlist. And that, like, there's over 100 songs up there now. It's quite getting unwieldy, you know what it's like, because you've got heaps too. I don't know how you do it with do you do playlists and stuff? But my playlist for music teacher primary school has got about 40 or 50, maybe 40 songs. Check that out rather than go, oh, where am I going to start with this?
Oh, that's good. I don't think I even realised you had the playlist. And it's...
Yeah, go into the playlist.
Yeah, we'll put the link to the actual playlist in the show notes too. And your website's ianrosswilliams.com.au, which we also will put that in the playlist. But if people have a look first, look at what they like, and then they can get onto your website and find, you know, the albums and whatever that they can purchase to support you, because...
Well, yeah, look, it's not even about purchasing. I'm not trying to make money out of this, so I'm under no illusions that I'm even going to be, I get royalty checks or royalties of, $3.21 or, a big one might be $4.63 or something.
Yeah, well,
It's just,
don't get too rich on
and
that
when
one.
I get, I've forgotten what amount it is, whatever it is that collects my digital sales. When it gets up to $50, I think I get one, which might be once every quarter or 6 months or something. I'm not trying to make money. So if people want to, and I'm not likely to, I'm not worried about that. I just love people to use my material. Contact me. I'm quite contactable, and I'll mostly just give it to you, or a nominal fee for whatever you want.
That's very generous. Very generous.
So it's just not about that. It's just about having the joy of people using the stuff.
Oh, wonderful. Well, that's a beautiful note to finish on. But if there's something that you would like to say, I'd like to just give you a chance to get on your soapbox and tell the world something. Assuming that there's thousands of people downloading this episode, and you want to tell them something really important to you, a message to the world.
I'm getting emotional. The thing that springs to mind is to be kind. Be kind to yourself and to be kind to everyone else. We're all carrying our load, every single one.
I love that. Oh, stop it. You're going to make me cry. Stop, Ian. Don't. Okay. Well, on that beautiful, beautiful note, I am saying bye for now to Ian Ross-Williams. And I know that the whole world appreciates the music that you've put out there and your kind heart.
Thank you.
Bye. As we know, laughter relieves stress. Don't lose sight of the funny side of life. I just found out today that I'm colourblind. The news came completely out of the green. Thank you so much for watching our Crescendo Music Education podcast. For more information about all things Crescendo, including membership and music education resources, visit us at crescendo.com.au. Don't forget to like and subscribe.